land where my fathers died, land of thy pilgrims' pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Thank you. You may be seated. Sorry, Dave, I didn't hit unmute and turn the camera back on in time, so you missed the pledge.
That's okay.
All right, thank you. Do I have a volunteer today for an invocation or motivational phrase? Otherwise, I've got one. Okay. Words of wisdom today. Happiness is not a destination. It is a way of life. Okay, so we've got some guests today.
So excited to introduce to you Adams and Marcus Legrand of the Fathers Group will be speaking to us in a little bit.
Nice to be here today. Mary, welcome.
Oh.
Mary's here as a guest again. It's like you want an application.
I already
Yeah,
gave it.
application.
Fantastic.
Yay.
Cool. Thank you. Well, I'm going to just dive right in then. So on top of Mary here, we've got 4 new approved applications yesterday. That's the first time we've had that many in one go. And I don't know, I might be jumping on Carl by announcing this, but our board approved 4 new members yesterday. So Randy Osborne from First Interstate Bank, Julie Olson, thank you for being here. Welcome. And then Jamie Chrisman and Todd Dickerson, who were our speakers a couple weeks ago from the Senior Center. So members, we are up to 55 as a club. We have 11 new members this year, this fiscal year, 1 shy of our goal of 12. So we're right there. Super exciting. Other announcements. Barb, I want to give you a round of applause while you're eating. You were selected as the January Queen of the month.
So what did I do to get this honor?
Everything.
Everything.
You've been incredibly involved as one of our newest members. You have gone above and beyond volunteering and donating your time, and we appreciate it.
And buying an extra box of candy.
Buying that extra box was what put us over.
Yeah, right.
For that. Which segues perfectly into Amber Wilson getting a round of applause. Amber so graciously yesterday purchased the last of these candy and is donating it all to the Senior Center Meals on Wheels program. So thank you. We appreciate you, and that's a very kind gesture. Well done on ordering your food. There were a couple mishaps. I apologize. Jenna, the new events director, gave me her email address and said we need to email her directly, not Marta any longer. So we're going to do that. I'll email you, Carl, with the information. And then moving forward, I ask that you guys email Jenna, myself, and Amber. Amber's going to do the little tags on the table. So she needs to know who gets what.
Josh, send me the email too so I can put it on the website.
Perfect. I will do that. Thanks. Service hours, as always, the papers on the table, fill those out if you've been volunteering in the community. The next food project pickup date is March 26th. More to that will come. Today is Ed Clark's birthday. Now, I wanted to ask, who knows Ed Clark? He is a member. We need to get this guy involved. I saw his birthday today and I thought, well, shoot, all right. And then Alan and Beverly Unger have an anniversary on the 19th. So if you see them out and about, congratulate them on another year. 50-50.
Would you mind pulling out a ticket, please?
Yeah,
Match that, verbally mine, or one of his, and read the last 3.
802.
I don't think that's. No.
802.
Oh!
Matt, we're gonna take a look at that.
It's been a long, time. I'll tell you that. Couple years.
John, I'll I don't want to make John stand up. So I will throw in a happy dollar for Amber's generosity and another happy dollar for a fantastic Valentine's Day. Michelle,
I'm going to put $5 in for Kenny and Marcus. I'm so thankful that you guys were able to come and speak to us today. And I got to meet Marcus Legrand when we worked on a project a couple years ago. And it fell through because of COVID, darn it. But it's been great to see Marcus's enthusiasm for the community and all that you're doing. I'll tell you more about Marcus in a little bit, but I'm just really thankful that you're both here. And then for Amber, I mean, wow. That's all I can say. Wow for that gift.
I have $5 too. I want to say I saw you officiating a basketball game last night.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
So he's an excellent basketball official to boot. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for being here. Thankful for Amber and her generosity, our new members. And then also, I know Mike Patrick would be upset if I didn't mention this, but the Oregon women did sweep the Oregon State ladies last weekend in basketball.
He's probably at home crying right now.
Sure wasn't Colorado last night, I'll tell you that. Plus, man.
I don't intentionally mean to skip ahead, but
Well, last time I was here, my first time here, everyone talked about a sports team that I was not familiar with. So I went up to the car and Googled it, and now that Super Bowl's over. This is for the Blazers beating the Bulls on the Bulls court, so that's $32. So $1 for great anniversary and Valentine's weekend, went to Sun River for the first time. We've never stayed down there, which is so weird. We've been here since '99, so I don't know why, it just never has come together, but it was a great weekend. And then just happy to see everyone here and just all the participation. It's awesome. Yeah, nice.
This is kind of a serious happy dollar, but last Friday I had to take Gail to ER. She had a sharp chest pain. It didn't last long, but when we got there, it subsided, but they went through, kept her 5 hours. You know, did the EKG and all that stuff. And then she saw a cardiologist yesterday, and he determined there was more of a, what they call something on the lung. For the lung attached to the chest cavity, there's like Velcro, and something comes undone, it's a sharp pain. So that's what they think it was.
Oh, boy.
But she's fine now.
Human body's weird.
$1 for all of our new members.
Old curmudgeon here, I was very disappointed with the Super Bowl commercials and the halftime entertainment.
Thanks for winning the pot today.
yeah.
I like the commercial.
There's a couple of bucks. My wife's in the hospital.
And I'm gonna put 5 in. So it's all about building relationships, and I think your kids would love to have your grown kids probably like to have that show because that's what they probably listen to in college. You just didn't know it. So mine is basically about building relationships and just showing your courageousness to want to be able to hear the various things that they need for this community. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Did I miss anybody?
I don't have any dollars, but I'll owe you one.
Okay.
But yesterday I met an 18-year-old young man, and I'm going to be his mentor in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program.
Thanks, Ann.
Awesome.
Excellent. Yeah. Is anybody up on screen happy today? Give them an opportunity.
But you can't write a picture about this.
Can you guys hear us? Maybe. Okay. Dave, can you hear us all right?
Yeah.
We'll move on. Joke of the day. I told this morning and I got really mixed reviews. I was on a Zoom with a large group, and anyway, we'll try it. So not long ago, I went by the house I grew up in and asked if I could go in and look around. They said no and slammed the door in my face. Man, parents can be real jerks. Anyway, I thought it was funny, but again, mixed reviews, right? Okay, Michelle, I'm gonna give you the floor.
Oh,
All right, guys.
I've got a question.
Carl, please.
Ann Graham said she's not getting my weekly This Week in Kiwanis emails. Is there anybody else who's not getting them?
Me,
This
but
is
I'm
just
not
me.
here.
Oh,
Trying to give me a message.
So you're not.
We did announcements, but if you have an announcement, then please.
Nope, now I get to introduce Marcus Legrand, Kenny Adams of the Fathers Group, and I had them write this down because they do so much in the community. I couldn't keep it all together. So Marcus Legrand is an executive board member of the Fathers Group and serves as the Afrocentric Program Coordinator for Central Oregon Community College and is a director and vice chair of the Ben Lafine School Board. We also have the executive director, Kenny Adams, is an executive director for the Fathers Group and serves as IT manager for Benefit Elect.
Yes.
Is that right? Thank you. A benefit administration and HR software company in Bend. You have the floor. Thank you both for being here.
So we're gonna be a little different. We're gonna stay at the table. We'll keep it as a conversation. Because the slides are just slides. Okay. That's what we're trying to get to. Is that okay with you guys on Zoom?
Yeah, they're here.
Yeah.
All right, let me pull the slideshow up so you can just have it.
They can universally say they couldn't.
Is it up there? Can you guys see it okay?
Yeah.
Looks good.
Or from the beginning. So that is right too. There it is. Is that okay?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, there's mine.
There you go.
Done full screen.
Is it okay? Is better? Why is it not full screen for them? This is on his. It should be fine.
They can see full screen on theirs. They can see it full screen on
But I
theirs.
don't bring that.
Aren't you the IT manager?
That's me.
There
you go.
Call the IT.
Oh, he trains me a lot. Don't. So here's the thing we look at as the Fathers Group. You know, really quick how we got started is we were a group of dads, about 15 of us. It was all the African American dads, and we were having issues in the Legrand, Redmond, all the different school districts in terms of some of the racial stuff that was happening with our kids. So we were supportive for one another. So we would get together maybe twice a month to kind of, chit chat about things. Instead of us angrily going into a school, we thought what's the best way to do this? Let's do it as collective because everybody has different situations. So let's look at everybody's scenarios and let's go and be able to support our students. Then after some of the unfortunate deaths of many of the people across the country, we said, what can we do even more? So we said, let's become a 501c3. We're all professional dads. We all have great opportunities, either in the college or experiences in the military, so forth and so on. We have these tremendous, great backgrounds. And historically and traditionally from TV and stuff, others are seen as unfitting, not there, absentee, so forth and so on. We're like, we want to change what that looks like. So we created the Fathers Group. Instead of going S apostrophe S means we don't know what that looks like and completely. Let fathers be able to vision what they want to be able to represent the community as. So we've encouraged all fathers across all racial lines to be able to be a part of this. So we've invited, and we do have fathers starting to join in that capacity. So that's why when we look at things, it's about emancipation designed to build community, right? How do we take what we really see and envision and be able to put it back into the community, but let's all do it collectively, not just do it singularly, right? Because we all know we have our concerns, and like we always talk about, when you realize that we do have so many commonalities, we don't even know how we could not survive without knowing that. All right, so and I should turn it on again, right? Okay. And there it is. So here's our agenda, and our theme for the Fathers Group. You see Kenny has on the sweatshirt too. Is let's grow together. Oh, excuse me. See this way. Shut it down too, right? There you go. Okay. Go back too far. And I'm clicking too fast. There it is. Okay. So like you said, let's grow together, learn, work, create, and grow, because that's all we're trying to do is grow. Ultimately, Kenny, like I said, he tells you what we do, but our passion is pretty much on the next slide. Our representation matters. We talk about our after-school program and our youth support that we do in the community, and business and economic development. Other piece, we talk about how we do it with students, and that's the piece of nurturing growth and emancipation, and there's some steps that we use to be able to do that for students. And then lastly, the ultimate why. If we don't have time for the video, we can probably skip over it, but it just talks about the wealth gap in our country. It's like a 5-minute video, but if we don't have to, if we have time, we'll get to it, but if we won't, we won't. But the last piece is the 7-word why, and that is for you, because I'm gonna ask you that question at the end about what that looks like, okay? Okay, yeah. All right, so let's talk about our mission. And as it says, work to enhance the lives of children through education, leadership, support, and networking. And our vision is to develop processes that stimulate growth and achievement. And what does that look like? So with what we do, as you can see right here, we have the Deshaun Adderley Memorial Scholarship. Deshaun Adderley was a student that was bullied and unfortunately committed suicide here in the Bentley Pine school system. So one of the initiatives that we have created is a scholarship based in his name. So I believe the last scholarship awards were up to about 10,000, yeah? 16,000, yes. We spread that out over several different students. We have, low barrier, mid barrier for being able to get to these scholarships, because ultimately, there are a lot of students that are, especially with COVID, needing, help with tuition, help with books, help with equipment. We're moved into more Zoom-centric society now. So not every student has access to the same tools that some of the wealthier students in the community have. So we want to be able to make these available to everyone. But not only that, we also have an after-school program that we've put together that we are in our second semester right now. Okay. We're in our second semester right now. That it's, we craft these programs with different instructors that teach things that they're not going to necessarily learn in general curriculum. So our mission is to really, broaden the landscape for students and the community as a whole to be able to really reach out. With the educational programming, we have, with our mission, we do have academic support, academic achievement, and career readiness. And like I was mentioning, we have, the Ujima after school program. We actually have another session this afternoon. We meet at the educational building in Bend from 3 to 5. We have students as young as 9 years old come to some of them, and then all the way up through high school. The kickoff was January 12th, and again, we have classes January 19th through the 23rd at the Educational Center. We also have the film series, which is something that I am incredibly proud of, and all of us are. The film series, we every month we have a different movie, and during Black History Month, this month, we show a movie each weekend. With these movies, these are showing movies that are shown through a African-American lens, as well as, with directors, actors, but it covers some really tough topics sometimes. And then after the movie is done, we usually have a Q&A portion with panelists to where the audience will have the ability to hold a conversation just like we're having right now. They can ask questions about the movie, about the panelist's life. One of our panelists, Dr. Dalton Miller-Jones, has an extensive history in civil rights. He is also a professor emeritus, right? Yes. And it gives people, again, young and old, the ability to ask questions that they may not have the opportunity to ask just in general conversation on a regular basis. And it makes it a very inviting, it's a very easy format for people to be able to ask questions. And then with the educational program, here is the list of the classes that we're currently doing this term. As Kenny was mentioning, like now we already done with some of these programming. It's really cool because the students have the opportunity not on the TV screen. So my corner, we're working on a TV screen. So if you can see, we always try to take it in something that's cultural, but also to something that's very, very inactive when we have the programs, right? So art and culture, like for instance, we talk about the African drum and the griot culture. If you don't know anything about the griot culture, it's similar when you're 13 years old. You have to meet all the elders and they pass on all the traditions that people have passed on for centuries. And you have to learn and know them. It's almost like their bar mitzvah. You have to know all these traditions, know what happens, know all these sayings in a different language they have, and they pass it on to the next generation. The drummer is actually who performed this is from West Africa himself, and he actually performed in this manner. And actually, he will be performing again February 23rd at COCC at noon. And he's going to be able to come do the same thing again, as well as the Juneteenth celebration in June. And if I can speak to the next one, we also did a Swahili class, which I actually co-taught. I'm not the primary speaker. I know a little bit, but our main instructor is actually from Tanzania. He speaks 3 languages, Swahili, African dialect, as well as English. And it was a very dynamic class to where Not only were the students able to learn some general phrases, they also learned how to pronounce their name in Swahili because it is a little bit different. And then there was an educational portion about just the vast amount of different languages that originate out of Africa. It was a very dynamic class. And then also this past week was, I think, one of our biggest production class was phenomenal. We had a music producer come in and actually showed them the basics how to break down music and also how to write lyrics within the music. And then the next class and next term, he would show them how to actually layer the music. It's just something to show them other than what they're getting in the classrooms, but from a lens of from people who have expertise in these areas they may have been able to get to be involved in. And then on our class next week is going to be phenomenal because we have OSU Cascade students who we hired to be able to come in and teach students about water filtration, but we're going to do it with water bottles to show them a different way of how water is used, and then with soil and be able to show it's drinkable, not drinkable. You know, just teaching them different things, you know, just understanding conservation and how things work. So those are the kind of things we're introducing to these students so they know what's going on. And not only that, we've also had the opportunity in our last semester to also teach them basic general economics when it comes to the real world application as opposed to what you normally see in schools, to where, you know, it's stuff that is good, you know, good foundational knowledge, but they don't necessarily apply it on when they're doing their taxes or when they're looking at balancing a checkbook, things like that. So we have instructors trying to take some of these real world application instruction and bring it to the students as well. Yeah, there we go. So here is some of the guideposts we like to use in terms of looking at working with our students. We always try to understand here are the various things we have opportunities to support what we're getting ready to do. The BOC business promotion development piece is really coming along. I'm starting to work with the OSU Cascade Innovation Lab to be able to start looking at those pieces. That's going to probably be happening maybe in the fall. That's where we're going to really get into that. See what we're looking at grant resources to be able to look at that. The youth and support, we have a program that we're working with the parole and probation office to be able to work with students who are being able to come out of those systems and they need supports. So we're going to look at being able to pilot that here probably in the next couple of months. And then the Muse Conference, the Fathers Group will be speaking at the Muse Conference to talk about a women's initiative where we're getting ready to start, and it's going to be called FAM, Fathers and Mothers, and it's going to be a whole women's division away from this particular father's piece. Because, you know, people have their own, women have their own problems. They want to be able to discuss them, but at the same time, they need support of them as well. And then with the vocational training, that's a future initiative. We're developing a video series for youth that addresses both soft and hard technical aspects of things. You know, with me as my background in IT, you know, there's a, you know, I mean, that is obviously the wave of the future. So we're working on creating producing different videos that will kind of go a little bit deeper into some introduction to some of these different industries. It might just help spark, you know, some interest people into, or getting students into different industries that seem to be lacking in their recruitment right now. Yeah. And see, for us, the Safe Space Forums, that's like the town hall that we have the COCC, which is coming up on March 17th and 18th. We're going to be and also the higher ed piece. Me being the Afrocentric program coordinator, that it allows me to be able to go into all the Central Oregon high schools to be able to start teaching leadership with the Afrocentric lens. I understand that there's Afro and everybody always thinks that's African American. The centric piece is what we're talking about because we're all universal. We're all connected in some kind of way. So that's the piece we're going to be working on, concentrating on. So that allows me to be able to build programming that allows to do some of the things I said, business and historical opportunities within our country, be able to take students to Africa. We also just take students to DC, take them to historical Black colleges and other universities so they can do a barnstorming tour to be able to see our vast country that we have, because many students don't get that option sometimes. So, and then also one thing that we did miss was the law enforcement partnership as well, and not just with Ben, but also with Redmond as well. We've established relationships with the police chiefs, with the lieutenant, as well as, you know, working with the district attorney's office to make sure that, you know, if something does affect our community, to where they may feel the families of the affected, whether it's a victim of, you know, violence, domestic violence, things like that, if they feel like they don't have any form of support, that we can help with outreach to where we can help with the families, where they actually can feel surrounded by the community and help them through the process. So, you know, when you're dealing with grief, you don't have that initial knowledge of, or you don't have the forethought to, okay, well, I need to contact this person and this, and, you know, you get to the resources that they actually need. we're working on programs to kind of step that up and be an assist for those families as well. And also when we work with students, we like to look at 3 steps. And these are the critical 3 steps. I won't go into all of them, but you can notice there are opportunities to allow the students to look within themselves, to be able to find out the options and things that they want to do in their lives and be able for us to help them achieve it. Bottom line. We try to step out of the way, but we listen to what they want and go from there. And the key one for me is always number 3, up and beyond. Now that I figured out how I can navigate this world and I have support, then what is it I can do based on my talents? And ultimately, we're trying to get these students to get to the last line there, is to create agency. Agency is hard to obtain, not at young ages, but even in older, as we get older too. But once you do attain it, you understand what it means. And for me, it means the freedom to be able to make choices and decisions on my future, not let someone else dictate that for me. So that's what we're trying to allow them to have that freedom to do so. So here are some of the things we use when we're getting ready to do that. We use some acronyms in the stage of their progression. The first one, like many of the students that we work right now, are in the NICE or before, because a lot of us are in that when they were starting to get emancipate themselves. Because remember, we're dealing with middle schoolers and high schoolers. They're trying to figure things out, right? So we try to use NICE as an acronym to be able to get them to understand where they're at in their life. We get them to notice, inquire, ask questions, and be inquisitive, center themselves to understand exactly where they're at. We try to do that through emotional support, but also establish expectations of what they want and what they see they want for their community as well, right? And then as they progress, we get into the save, and then we get into the recess, because you always got to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? So we try to understand that this is the process we try to help students get to. This growth tool was started by a lady by the name of Dr. Esprene Mitchell out of Portland, and she did it for her doctoral thesis, and it was really good because she helped these students get to this point, and then they started helping their students in their schools, and she paid them stipends to start working, to start building what they want. Now this opportunity, these students are starting to build their own online stores to be able to sell their merchandise. They've created other small business opportunities for these students, and these are freshmen, sophomores, and juniors in high school. So they're telling us, hey, thank you for the process, because it allows us to be grounded in a way that we can be successful, all right? And then finally, I think it's the video. Here's the question for you guys. What is your 7-word why of wanting to engage with the Fathers Group?
Why 7 words?
Because it makes you have to condense it. It makes you think. It makes you
So
have
it's
to,
like, I want to be involved because, and then I have 7 words.
7 words to get you there. So you got pieces of paper somewhere on your desk. If you got a pen, whatever, you want to write them down, take a couple minutes, think about it. Because we're always looking for support. We need volunteers. We need other avenues that we never know we may need. We may need that connection for someone to be a teacher who wants to come in and help tutor a student. We may need donations for people to be able to come and supply the after-school supplies that we need. We may need people to be at the volunteer for the Juneteenth celebration, which is going to be 2 days in Drake Park. You know, we're going to need people to be able to volunteer in those educational tents or set up booths or help with, you know, putting chairs out, whatever. But we just all can do that together. That's the way we see it.
Okay, I got one.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to make a meaningful difference.
Ooh,
Like, is that's kind of what,
yeah, that's it.
Well, this organization is about helping kids, and we're kid focused, so for me, that's where it all comes from.
that's more than
Like
7
14
words.
words.
I want to help kids.
There it is. There you see
Okay.
it. Oh, you see. Hey, maybe shorter. All right.
A lot.
ma'am.
With this stuff
Yeah.
to provide what my sons didn't have.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
good. That's good. Like that.
Everyone deserves a sense of community.
Yeah, man.
Oh.
Good. Hey, hey, you got skills, right?
Professional advantage.
And also, we're more than open for questions as well. Yeah. And then, hold on, that's when I get to the last one. Okay. There you go. And I can show you this thing later. I always go discussion. I never say questions.
How many kids do you have in the program?
At the school or in general?
All of it, both.
Okay. You want to go after school? After school program, it does vary. Oftentimes we'll see upwards around 15 to anywhere between 15 and 18. And like I said, it does vary.
Sure.
And depending on the subject, some kids might have interest, some may not. But what we are finding, especially with this, because we're only in our second semester now. Now that we are doing a heavy social media push, promoting it, showcasing video during classes. And then also we have, parents that will come and stay for the last couple of minutes of the class, and they're like, okay, so can I tell my mom friends, about this, because I think their kids will love it as well. So next thing you know, we have other groups come in. So.
And is it just one school, or each school has its own after-school program, or is it
Just
all one?
one school right now.
One school, okay.
So the students can get dropped off out of the bus
Yeah.
right now, or their parents drop them off. We encourage the parents to drop them off because we want to see the parents' faces. We want to be able to talk to them, and also we want to see the students they have an entry to get into class. So to get into class, I would say Njambu, which means hello in Swahili. And the second thing I would say is Habari Ujima, right? And what that means is, what's your good news? You got to give me some good news to get in class.
Mm.
So what did you do good for yourself? What did you do good for the community or for your parents or whatever? What's your good news?
Mm.
Kids will say, I got B's and C's, but you get the A's. Okay, how are we gonna do that? So we have homework help when they step in the room. Okay, what do you need? Well, guess what? I had a kid, I jumped in front of a kid today so he wouldn't bully another kid. And that's a hug for me. You know what I'm saying? But it gives them that connection to know they got support, and they know they're doing the right thing in their schools.
What school is it that?
Well, it's actually all schools have been Pine School, but we just have it at one location.
Yeah, what's the location?
Oh, it's at the educational building in downtown district, right across from the library.
Oh, sure.
We're trying to work with our Boys and Girls Club to start seeing some of their students as well, and their instructors, because a lot of the students are amazed. You have some students who are Japanese and Black, they're African from Africa, they're mixed race, they're Hispanic and Black, or they're just white, and they're in the class, and you're sitting there. I'm sorry. You're American. Thank you. See, I remember. See, thank you. You're American, and these students are just engaging, and a lot of the mothers are either Euro-American, or they were a single mom, or something was going on. And the students are starting to leave talking about, I think we found our tribe, mom. Or you hear kids just light up when they get there. You can just tell the difference in their body language when they walk in the door, because they understand what they want to get out of it. So some of the messages that we received through the Facebook page or Instagram from some of the parents, to where they'll send us 2-3 paragraphs about the conversation that they've had on the way home with their student, or with their child, the student, mentioning exactly that the student will essentially say that they found agency, that they've found where they feel comfortable, that they usually feel alone while they're in school, or they don't really have anyone to talk to. But when they come, we had one of our classes for Kojima was health and wellness. So we had an instructor, Chandel Landon, who was teaching them about hair care and skin care, and teaching them about proper combs and picks to use and things like that, because obviously our hair is different, and the fact that these kids were like, okay, so now I don't have to watch a YouTube video to see how to do this. I know that and it's not just me, these other kids that are here with me, they actually are experiencing the same thing. So the conversations that they're having just amongst themselves is phenomenal, and they get excited. Again, they just get chatty, and my youngest attends most of the classes as well, the after school program. And just the conversation, we live in La Pine, so it's a good 35-minute drive home. And the conversation it's just, they're just beaming, and well, look at this, and look, I got this hair cap, and I got all this. So it's something that they don't typically have the ability to get excited about until now. So that, and then also I have heard from some of the parents of Euro-American descent, where they're like, I never knew this. I never knew this information. I never knew that, that these other students have to do things differently than I do. I've heard one student say, I use hair gel normally. I know I know that they're not using hair gel. It's opening up a lot of eyes, and also a lot of minds. So it's been very rewarding to see students experiencing that sense of community that they typically wouldn't get.
This is for middle school?
Middle school and high school,
Middle school, high school?
Mhm.
You thought about going younger, or is that kind of?
Well, we've had a few classes like the music production, the African drumming, the health and wellness, and actually the Swahili. The Swahili class, we actually had a lot of younger kids between ages like 9, 12, and they were eating up.
Yeah.
They absolutely, it's a choice. Like I said, you don't have to come to all 6 because you want to be, if you can think about like social justice is being taught today, it can be a little difficult for a 7 or 8-year-old to deal with that. So we're saying, hey, parents, you understand that we talk about social justice today. But we do it in a way where it's productive and not just, hey, look at this picture. It's more or less like, okay, what are you dealing with at your school? What would you like to see at your school? Like trying to get them conversation, but then showing them how to do it in a way where it's not one gonna cause any ruffles, but it allows them to get support and they do it collectively. So it's that fine balance, because the STEM class, everybody will be there, because they want to be able to be a part of that. So, and then next term, we start all over again. We're gonna have so many other things, I have so many different teachers lined up who want to engage with this. It's phenomenal.
So how do you measure success? So like big brothers, big sisters will have these statistics that say kids that go through our program are 10% less likely to have, or 90% more likely to graduate high school, stuff like that. And not everything has to be a statistic,
right?
But how do you measure?
So go ahead, you go first. Yeah, I'll go first. For me, measuring success are the comments from the parents, but also the camaraderie of the students. Typically after the after school program is done, the students will either wait in the class or they'll ask if they can wait out front of the building, and seeing students that don't go to the same school, that may not have known each other prior to coming, sitting down and joking and laughing and just experiencing again that sense of community, that's a win. Because for me, that means that they have developed a friendship and a connection. They're networking. They're even on their level, they're networking and they're building these relationships that could quite possibly go on for decades to come. But not only that, but seeing the parents respond to us saying, okay, my kid has never had anything like this, and now this is all they're talking about, they won't shut up about it. That is, again, it's like, okay, so we're giving them, we're filling something that was needed to be filled. We're actually providing a service and a sense of community that they did not have before.
Survival tools.
Yeah. Success for me. And he knows, we do this.
I suggest the answer to her question is you count the smiles as the kids go out.
Did that too. Yeah, that's awesome too. But no, for me, success for me is I want these students to be able to continue to bring their friends because they're starting to do it. Mm-hmm. I want these students to be able to, when they walk down the street, because there's nothing better to me when I have any kid comes running up and give me a hug. You were at my after school class. You didn't have to be there, but you were there, right? That's success for me. That later on, 10 years from now, I'm writing a letter of recommendation for them. You know what I'm saying? They're interns in the program. They have a place they can always come and have a job. See what I mean? That's success for me. They have a place where they know I can be me and without having to ask any questions. So that's success for me.
On your scholarships, what's the criteria that you've run? Are they specific to, they have to be going to a certain type of college or study? Because it seems like a lot of the scholarships now are driven towards STEM, which I get is very important. But there's kids that, go to school and do great things with theater, music, art, and you don't see a lot of, the scholarships seem to be moving away from that. There's not as much opportunity.
Scholarships open to whatever they need for school. They don't, if you read some of the stories of these students, hey, I need this $1,000 because I got to pay my rent. I got to keep going to school. I got one more class left. Some of the ones that I've had were, because I was on the proposal review, there were several students that said, I don't want to be a burden on my parents already working 2 jobs, and I want to be able to get my own books. or I'm going to put this $1,000 toward a computer so they don't have to worry about buying it for me. These are kids that are having a sense of responsibility there was a 16-year-old that was like, look, I'm already working but it's not cutting it for the books that I need to purchase. So, and my mom is a single mom and she already works 2 jobs. She doesn't need this burden.
Yep.
So it's like Mark said, it's very low barrier. If a student is needing tools to be able to be successful, that's what we're here to try to help out with. But the next step within that next generation is, yes, scholarship, but come volunteer, come be a part of this, come see how you can learn other things, be able to, he doesn't have to work a job, or his mom works to find other supplemental ways. Because in my past experience, when I was at COCC, my job was to do that. If a student was on SNAP benefits, I could help them with tuition, books, and fees. So I know those still have those connections. So that's how I, yeah.
Oh, I was just wondering, do you see something like this coming to Redmond? Like, do you see being able to do that? And do you have the capacity to do that, or do you need more help here?
We're gonna need more help here. I was gonna answer it, because we're starting to work with City Council. We're starting to meet with the police chief here and with their new captain as well. We're starting to work with other programs. So as soon as, like you say, get more people, that's gonna be the thing. Because having him as the ED is awesome, but then we have staff, but we know we're gonna need more staff to be able to handle some of these things. And that's what we're looking at right now is, okay, budgetarily where we're at and be able to look at all those things. So it's a lot of work. It's a grind, but at the same time too, we're going to get there. Yeah, we're hopeful that it's going to happen. We've had a lot of requests from parents on incorporating more events and more access to Redmond students as well. So, and actually we've started even getting a few requests from even Madras. Yep. So yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It's awesome.
Marcus? Marcus?
Sir, I'm right here.
Okay, I have a question. A lot of states are in the process or have already instituted laws against critical race theory. They say that this theory says that all people are racist. But according to a article in Education Week, they say that the theory says that racism is a part of everyday life. So people, white or non-white, who don't intend to be racist, can nevertheless make choices that fuel racism. Now, if you agree with that, do you have a program to integrate that into any of your lessons?
Well, the thing is, though, I would have to talk to my lawyers because they're really stooped in critical race theory in terms of what the concept was looking at. And basically what it boils down to is they're saying this: within our system, there are a lot of different policies and procedures based on the fact that, unbeknownst to a lot of people, they have hurt a lot of different people to be able to advance the way they want to, is what it boils down to. Even though if it says it in the policy or if it's exercised by the people who basically are in control of the situation of the funds that goes on within the various municipalities we have in our country. Here's the critical piece of this. I could care less about critical race theory. What I'm caring about is building relationships with people, because that's how we're going to get through this. Because if I don't know what you're thinking and how we can support one another, then guess what's going to happen? We're never going to be able to get some commonality. So what I encourage people to do is, let's stop thinking of what everybody else talks about and let's figure out what we need to do for our community. That's where I'm at, because our community and these students and these families need support. And that's what we need to figure out. All the stuff that we hear, I just let it go by, because I know and my heart looks like, that's the thing I look at. I know my heart wants for our community. Because you think about it, I got all these people in here. I've not once thought, okay, it's a bunch of white people sitting here. They're just people who want to get back. That's the way we got to look at it. So I'm really trying to get away from all these terms that restrict us. I'm past it. I'm tired. I got too many things going on in my life. I got a family to raise. I'm not trying to go too personal on that, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to get back to that, and whatever that looks like and whatever future I can help build for them and the kids in this community we have. Because if we don't get support for them, oh my God, we're gonna wish we did it. So, and if I may add to that, I like to live my life by a philosophy that was developed actually by my childhood friend who is now a captain in the Navy. One of his principles, because he is a captain of a sub, and one of his principles is that he tells all of everyone that is under him is respect our time. Yep. And what he means by that, which he was explaining this to me, and it's so fundamental and it's basic, to where if we have people that are thinking that we have an agenda, or if they think that what we're doing is something that is going to try to coerce people to think a certain way. Ultimately, what we really want is just to, like Marcus said, we're concerned about our community. We're concerned about actually talking to people on a human level. Coming in, and again, I like what Marcus just said. It's not like we've come in here like, oh, well, we're the only two black men in a room full of white people, and oh, we get in, get out, and be done. That's not how we're looking at this. We see that this is a group of people that are like-minded, wanting to be able to give back to students, give back to the community, and that lines up with what we're trying to do. So we want to be able to actually have a moment to, and I like the fact that Marcus decided, instead of standing up there and essentially giving a lecture, we have a conversation, because that's something that is lacking completely right now in our society, is people sitting down, breaking bread, having a conversation, actually getting to know one another, hear genuine conversation coming from our hearts, and hearing from everyone else in here. It is, we're all the same sitting at this table. Right now, I love the fact that this is essentially, it's a square, but we're essentially in a round table situation. We're all sitting together, having a good conversation about giving back to the community. So that's really where our heart is.
Thank you.
Very well said.
So I want to explain to the group the Euro-American comment. You guys kind of fed that. Frank, my husband at the museum, is on a mission to stop people from calling Black people African Americans and white people white. It's suggested some lesser quality to their Americanness. So if you're going to say black and white, that's okay. But if you're going to say African American, you better say European American, right? Euro-American. So that's Frank's thing, and I think it's a pretty good thing. Frankly.
Well, I love the fact that it's all for the kids.
Sure.
And one of the things that we do is we help people connect to each other. And so when you put a group of kids in at a really young age, they play together, they interact together. It's learned behavior later in life that if we nip it in the bud early enough.
Is this a program that you can see spreading across the US?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's similar ones to similar what we're doing. A lot of them are based on a lot of different organizations or stems of organizations. Like I was telling Kenny yesterday, I was in fraternity when I was growing up, when I was in college, and we had a guide right program, and it was a mentorship program, college students, and the gentleman who was part of my fraternity, we all went back to the community, we found young men who needed help, And then we had a women's division too. I hated that we separated it, but I'm glad that was in '97. So, but I looked at the tenets of that program and says, what can we have here similar, but how can we advance it? And then how can we make it more relevant to today? Because we know technology is something students love, but then how can we look at how they're starting to learn and interview all these different things, cultural, a little bit or whatever, and just give them, like you said, that framework. So yeah, it'll change, but we can either branch off and be something else, or start looking at other organizations and put them have them as branches, or maybe the umbrella and they be a part of it. We thought about that model as well. Different, we need the umbrella. We have all these different organizations underneath, and we have to get the major support. So we thought about all those different organizations. I do let you guys know this. Is we're saying, okay, so if we are doing the African American Festival, all the Latino organizations will support from one way. And then when they have something, we do similar. And we're just trying to do that with everyone. Like if we need support, you know, we do it this way, here's our donation to you by helping support what you're doing, and when we do something, you do the same thing. So we're starting to try to build relationships in that way too, because that's the only way it can happen. So when people start asking questions like, who are these people? Well, they're a group who just do what we're doing when they have something. Yeah. That's community. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Great. Any other questions before we wrap things up?
Thank you for your time, your
Oh,
service.
thanks, guys.
Okay, don't rush off. If you guys have questions, please stick around.
No worries.
Otherwise, we're good to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.